Hello, this is Annie Sprinkles with your Daily Scoop. Today is Wednesday, March 30th, 2016. So a little while ago I put a post on Facebook to say, before I post today's scoop, it's a prerequisite to go back and listen to my Daily Scoop from March 22nd, although I didn't post it until March 23rd on my Facebook page and on YouTube. And actually, if you listen to it on YouTube, you're only going to get 15 minutes of it. So go to my Facebook page for March 23rd and listen to the Daily Scoop that references my personal story of resilience and reflection. And it would be helpful if you listen to that scoop before listening to today's scoop. Because in that scoop, I referenced the ACE study, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences. And in many previous scoops, I've mentioned the ACE study. But why I feel it's important for you to listen to this scoop is because I talk a lot about my personal resilience. And I think a lot of these things and protective factors probably resonate with many people. So today we're going to dive a little bit more into understanding what adverse childhood experiences are. And then again, just remind folks that there is a free community offering on April 13th, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's going to be at MCC. You have to register. But there is going to be a free community service event that's going to talk about the ACE study and give you probably very similar information to what I'm going to be giving you here on today's Daily Scoop. So the reason why I wanted you to listen to the other day's scoop before you listen to today's is because today you're going to see why I have such a high level of resilience and why I'm able to let's say just overcome adversity in my life when I am met with it. And it just is so important for people to understand this because it also is, can be healed if you have had trauma in your life or you know someone who has and you don't think that they've been able to heal that trauma for some of these reasons. Maybe their resilience factors were so low that that's why. And in some cases, it continues to defeat them and get in the way of their having a healthy, happy life, free from those burdens, that have been festering. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about what ACEs are. So ACEs are serious childhood traumas, and also you'll see and learn as this goes on that it also can be a trauma that happens later in life, like in my case in my 20s, experienced domestic violence. Or sometimes people who have been traumatized by war. If you have these similar trauma is trauma, right? So whether it happens in early childhood and is carried through, or you have a traumatic experience either as a teen and or an adult. Either way, whatever time this happens in your life, healing is required and resources are available for that to happen. So when they refer to ACEs, they are referring to adverse childhood experiences that happened before the age of 18. So like in my case of having an experience with sexual assault at the age of 16, that would be considered an ACE in my childhood, or one adverse childhood experience. So here's a little bit from curriculum and things that we teach in the classrooms when we're talking about the ACE study, and we dive in much more deeply on this, but I'll give you the overview right now. So ACEs are serious childhood traumas that result in toxic stress that can harm a child's brain. This toxic stress may prevent a child from learning, from playing in a healthy way with other children, and can result in long-term health problems. So adverse childhood experiences can include emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional neglect, physical neglect, mother treated violently, household substance abuse, household mental illness, parental separation or divorce, incarcerated household member, bullying by another child or adult, witnessing violence outside of the home, witnessing a brother or a sister being abused, racism, sexism, or any other form of discrimination, being homeless, and natural disasters and war. So exposure to childhood ACEs can increase the risk of adolescent pregnancy, alcoholism and alcohol abuse, depression, illicit drug use, heart disease, liver disease, multiple sexual partners, intimate partner violence, sexually transmitted diseases, smoking, suicide attempts, unintended pregnancies. So how do ACEs affect health then? And the simple answer is through stress, specifically through toxic stress. Frequent or prolonged exposure to ACEs can create toxic stress, which can damage the developing brain of a child and affect overall health. So ACEs reduce the ability to respond, to learn, or to figure things out, which can result in problems in school. It lowers the tolerance for stress, which can result in behaviors such as fighting, checking out, or defiance. It increases difficulty in making friends and maintaining friendships. It increases problems with learning and memory, which can be permanent. It increases stress hormones, which affects the body's ability to fight infection. And it might cause lasting health problems. So a survival mode to responses to toxic stress increases a child's heart rate, their blood pressure, their breathing, their muscle tension, their thinking brain is knocked offline, literally. So self-protection is their priority. So in other words, their brain is saying, I can't hear you, I can't respond to you, and I'm just trying to be safe right now. Okay? So what we talk about a lot, and what I specifically talked about in my personal story of my 16-year-old brain being sexually assaulted by someone 23 years old, 7 years older than me. So, the good news is that resilience can bring back health and hope. So because of my foundation with my family and having a lot of protective factors, my resilience was high. So what is resilience, and what does it take to trump these ACEs, right? So what is resilience? Well, resilience is the ability to return to being healthy and hopeful after bad things happen to you. And research shows that if parents provide a safe environment for their children and teach them how to be resilient, that helps reduce the effects of ACEs. So with my story of how I feel, the way I handled that situation, number one, like how I said, what I said to him on the phone, it was just to get anything to get him off the phone. I just lied, I just blurted out all these crazy things, and he hung up on me, and thank goodness I never heard from him again. But more importantly, it was that conversation with my mom. while I was doing dishes, and how safe she made me feel and how assured I was that this guy was never going to come around here again. Okay? And I learned something from that. And I did have a lot of protective factors right there at home. Many, many people don't. And that's why ACEs, when they're high or they have multiple ACEs in their experiences, it's even harder and harder to heal. Okay? So resilience trumps ACEs, we say, right? So parents, teachers, and caregivers can help children by gaining an understanding of their ACEs, helping them identify feelings and manage their emotions, create safe physical and emotional environments at home, in school, and in neighborhoods. So what does resilience look like? Having resilient parents. Parents who know how to solve problems, who have healthy relationships with each other as adults, and who build healthy relationships with their children. My parents did that. Building attachment and nurturing relationships. Adults who listen and respond patiently in a supportive way, and they pay attention to a child's physical and emotional needs, which my mom clearly did that day. They help build social connections, having family and friends and neighbors who are supportive, and they help, and they listen to the children. You know, sometimes you might tell a neighbor's mom something. Well, you know, make sure you moms are talking, okay? Meeting basic needs. My parents, 9 kids, right? Providing 9 children with safe housing, nutritious foods, appropriate clothing, access to health care, good education. Critical. So many kids don't have that. Learning about parenting and how children grow. Understanding how parents can help their children grow in a healthy way, and what to expect from children as they grow. You know, I say this a lot in my talks. My parents, you know, they had a lot to manage with 9 kids. Yeah, we were all pretty close in age, but they were really, really mindful about age-appropriate introductions to things. Okay? So they weren't like super overbearing and overprotective, but they were really, really mindful about stuff and protecting us emotionally from things. If we just weren't old enough to know about it, you know, and then they just would make the older siblings promise, like, do not tell Annie, you know, and they didn't. You know, so that was like my parents talking to their kids and understanding how understanding it is to be, you know, open. And never be afraid to come and talk to your mom and dad about anything. And I wasn't, okay? But they also helped us build social and emotional skills, right? So that kind of goes along that same thing. Helping us interact in a healthy way with other people. How to manage our emotions and communicate our feelings and our needs, okay? So, you know, some of the things that makes me think of that right now is I have a brother that's a couple years older than me that has special needs. We did the spaghetti dinners every year. We all had to volunteer. And then, you know, my dad worked for Kodak, so every year there was the St. Paul Grill picnic, and it was a fundraiser for something, I think poverty. I don't know, I could be wrong on that. If anybody remembers the St. Paul Grill picnics, you know, back in the 60s and the 70s, and we went to them and we supported them, and we did those things. And we had to do parades and volunteer and stuff like that. And, you know, even as we got older, you know, in our teenage years, if, you know, we didn't have enough to do after school, well, we volunteered. I volunteered. For kids with special needs up at the L. Siegel Center. So they got us involved in that kind of stuff and helped us learn how to, you know, interact and respect authority and work ethics. You work and you volunteer. You give back. So you know, this is just a little bit, you know,